Hey everyone, it's Aaron here from Rudy Visuals. Lovely to see you all once again. In today's video, we're talking all about gimbals and specifically 10 of my favorite gimbal movements. These are all really simple but creative techniques that I hope will make your shots look a little bit more high-end, more cinematic, and generally just a little bit more awesome. We all know the basics of tracking shots like simple follows, side follows, front follow movements. So these are a little bit different. Some of them are slight tweaks to add a little bit more creativity and make your videos stand out just that little bit more. By the way, a big thank you to our model Charlene, who is absolutely awesome and super talented. If you want to see more of her, check out the link in the description box below. And by the way, if you are new here, we are Rudy Visuals and we make content all about cameras, filmmaking, and photography. So if you like the content we're making, consider hitting that subscribe button to see more. Anyway, enough waffling, let's get straight into number one. So this first one is what I like to call the epic character intro. And as the title suggests, this is a great shot to introduce subjects in your video. It's really simple to do. All you need to do is to walk into the shot, starting slightly lower down, raising the gimbal up as you get closer to your subject, and have your subject also start with their head down and then slowly look up as you come in closer. Shoot at a high frame rate, slow it down, and you get this really awesome intro style shot that just makes your subject look really cool and badass. I would recommend using a longer focal length for this to get good subject to background separation. Next up is the shoes and hands follow. I'm sure these will have better names, by the way, but that's just what I have in my head. This is a nice variation on a typical tracking follow shot, but instead of focusing on a torso or a head shot, it can look really cool to zoom in on either shoes or hands. So with shoes, it really adds dynamics and to the feeling of kind of movement. And when focusing in on hands, I think it almost adds this sort of sensory depth where you imagine touching and feeling what the subject is feeling yourself. Really simple, but really nice to throw in for variety. At number 3, I call this the car follow, even though you're not really in a car, but this is basically just a side tracking shot. But what we're trying to do is emulate that feeling when you're like filming from a car, following the subject from a side. And with this one, I recommend using a wider angle lens, as this is a shot where we want to see more of the background for scale. This works great for a subject that's running or maybe riding a bike or a skateboard, etc. What we're really trying to capture here is the scale and movement. Next up, I call this the eye tracking shot. So this is a little bit of a tweak on a typical subject tracking shot where the subject is walking towards you and you're walking back in tandem. And then really focus in on one eye and make sure to include some of the background in the frame to show that movement. You get this really cool looking shot. I saw this randomly on Instagram one day and I just loved the way it really added kind of emotion and made you connect with the character. It kind of makes you feel their vulnerability and it just looks awesome. So yeah, definitely recommend throwing this one in for some variation. Coming at number 5, I call this just using leading lines, and it's just using things around you and the background to lead into or out from your subject. So with this one, your subject doesn't actually need to be moving, or they can be, but the trick here is to find nice leading lines and then using those to guide the shot. It creates this really cool, almost dolly zoom effect. It works great in enclosed spaces like narrow paths with fences or walls either side, or for example here with these bookcases in the library. I just love the way it adds layer and depth to any shot, which is a lot more visually engaging for your viewer. Like I said, you can get your subject to move or even shoot from the side to add even more depth and variety. This can work really well with close-up, medium, and wide shots too. Next up, I like to call this one the in and out. So this is a shot that kind of mimics when you're like in a car or a train and you see another car going the opposite way. Typically, I like to start with moving towards my subject with the subject coming towards me. Then you can either pan the camera to follow the subject and continue to push back, revealing more of the background as our subject gets further and further away. At number 7, I like to call this one the step in shot. So this is just a slight tweak on a conventional tracking shot, but instead of following your subject from the onset, start by simply having the subject out of frame, start moving forward or back, and then have your subject step into the frame. So it's just a really simple variation of a typical tracking shot, but I particularly like the way it focuses your viewer's attention on the surrounding first and then introduces the character into the shot afterwards. Moving on, our next gimbal movement is another easy one, and that's simply to just include some vertical movement as well. I particularly like following the subject, for example, at foot level, and then slowly working your way up. This creates a really cool character reveal type of shot and also works really well from behind as a location reveal as well. It can also be a really nice way to focus in on other elements in the shot, like an item of interest. At number 9 is what I like to call the spin tracking shot, and this is just basically having the camera spin around the subject. This is a great way to just add some dynamics to your shot. some excitement. And for me, I like the way it lets you see different sides to your character, and is definitely a super easy way just to add some variety to your B-roll. It works really well with both static and moving subjects. Just be careful with this one. You definitely need a lot of space and nothing for you to bump into or trip over. And last but not least, this is what I like to call the fake drone shot, and it's exactly that. It's just kind of like you're emulating a drone, either flying away or towards your subjects. This is definitely one that works better with medium to wider shots. I would say it definitely helps as well if you're a little bit taller, or if you can get your gimbal on a longer extension of some kind, like on a tripod or a pole. In this example, I'm starting close to my subject and then slowly backing away, and as I walk further away, I'm extending my arms out and trying to get the gimbal as high as possible, revealing more of the environment. You get this kind of cool, unique view, like a bird flying away. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you will find this list helpful. I highly recommend just going out there and having fun and practice, get creative. You'll find everything here is super simple to do. You can even combine a lot of them to get even more cool and unique looking gimbal shots. Remember, there's no real rules to camera movement. My only advice is just to give it some thought prior to shooting. So just plan ahead, create shot lists, mood boards, storyboards, practice. Visualize the movements in your mind, and yeah, just go out there and use your gimbal. Ultimately, you know, the gimbals, they're just a tool. It's down to you how you use it, but preparation and having a plan is 100% one way to improve your gimbal shots. But anyway, enough preaching, let's end it here. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. It'd be awesome if you could do all that stuff that YouTube algorithm likes. Leave a comment, like the video and subscribe, all that good stuff. And you can also follow us on socials here. And I guess I will see you on the next one. Thanks so very much. Peace.